Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Yes, it does. Hello and welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on this Friday in mid-July. It's so good to be with you. I'm Jay Crawford. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about many things, amongst them, which of the Guardians players is most positioned to have a breakout second half? Jason.
Cavs Summer League is in full swing. We're going to talk about it. And Bronny James in a Lakers jersey playing against the Cavs last night.
I'm G. Bush. We'll talk about Taysom Hill. Why Taysom Hill? Well, he's a Swiss of a jack of all trades. I'm going to tell you the player on the Browns that is closest to that jack of all trades, and we'll talk about it next. Big Nuggets.
Yeah, maybe we are underrating Denzel Ward because when we talk about superstars in Cleveland, he doesn't necessarily get mentioned in the same light as others. And it turns out we might be wrong for that, Jay, which is where we're going to start today.
Yeah, we are going to start there because I think Denzel Ward has been kind of a tale of two players. He's been an elite corner that plays at an all-pro level. And then a couple of years ago, he had a step-back season. And I think that, Mikey, is really is the genesis of why we're a little hesitant to put him in that superstar elite category. Because 2 years ago, I watched a guy that I didn't recognize. Yeah. I knew he wore number 21, but he did not look like Denzel Ward to me. But he bounced back in a big way last year. Denzel was named, Mike, I think, number 2 on a list of top cornerbacks in the league. And the most impressive thing about that list is it was voted on by scouts, execs, and those are the guys, and coaches, those are the guys that really get into the weeds on the skill sets. What's the total list look like as we dive into this?
Yeah, this was the ESPN survey we've referenced a bunch of times throughout the week. They do their top 10 in each position. Scouts, executives, coaches vote on it. And here was the top 10 cornerbacks in the NFL based on these evaluators. Patrick Surtain of the Broncos came in at number 1. Denzel Ward, Cleveland's cornerback, coming in at number 2. Sauce Gardner at 3. L'Jarius Sneed at 4. Jalen Ramsey at 5. And to round out the top 10, you had Trent McDuffie at 6. Jair Alexander at 7. Jalen Johnson 8. Devin Witherspoon 9. And Derek Stingley Jr. number 10. In PFF's top 32 cornerbacks, Denzel Ward was 16th. According to NFL coaches and execs, he was number 2. Yeah. Do we actually underrate Denzel Ward?
I don't think we do.
I think the injuries hurt him a little bit.
Yeah.
And you know he's probably going to miss 2 or 3 games. It's just the way that it is. It's always something with him. But when he's on the field, he's elite. And Mike right there proved what I've been saying for years now is we overrate PFF. I'll take coaches and executives over PFF every single time. And what did you say PFF rated them where?
16.
16.
Now that's absurd.
But the guys who work in the league, didn't we just do that topic a couple weeks ago on the YouTube show?
We did.
Yeah, okay. I remember there was a listing that we did where he was much lower than I felt like he should have been. Yeah. And that just proves it. I'll take the guys who are actually working in the league, what they say, over PFF. And
I will too.
I think he's a top 5 quarterback. You can put the list however you want.
I like that too.
He's top 5. That's elite of the elite.
Yeah. And that's, by the way, that's where I would rate him, is top 5.
Yeah.
So I think this poll has him slightly overrated. And I think the PFF thing is, they've been dead to me for years, and they're still dead, and there's no heartbeat.
I think PFF, is, you could take it, for what it's worth, right? You could look at PFF, and PFF has their way of grading it. But hey, when you hearing it from coaches and players, and not only GMs, but you take a look at the, players. They talk about Denzel Ward and why he's so good. He just has the cover speed. Like he never is threatened too deep in corners that run in that 4-3 range. He has the ability to have good cover and makeup ability. So now, and plus he has really, really, really good technique. And he's a guy I think kind of gets knocked a little bit. 1, because he plays in Cleveland. 2, because he's injured. He always misses a couple handful of games every year. And I do think sometimes when you get that knack on you and the new guys come up like Sauce Gardner and some of the new names, Derek Stingley Jr. is another guy, there's a propensity to want to, show the new guys some love. But I think when it comes to just skill set, talent, and being able to make plays, I think the Browns got 3 really good corners. He's the best of them. And I think he falls somewhere inside the top 5 if it was for my money.
Yeah, I like Sauce Gardner. I was surprised that he was ahead of Sauce Gardner on this list. I don't know that I'd put him ahead of Denzel, but I also like Jair Alexander. I think he's a tremendous corner. All those guys are, clearly. And I think at this level, you're splitting hairs. I think if you asked all 32 teams to take any of these guys,
they'll take them all.
They would all jump at any of those because
Absolutely.
that position has become a premier position because it's a passing league.
Yes.
You need that shutdown corner. And I think for the most part, he has been that through the bulk of his career. I'm glad you brought up the injury piece of it because that's the one knock on him that I hear from a lot of other teams and other media is that, he's great, but ability and availability aren't always, they're not always together. And I think that's definitely the case here.
And the Browns are a different team when he doesn't play. Just to be clear. They're a different team.
You miss him.
Yeah. You see it. It's noticeable.
All right, let's move on. And topic number 2, also NFL related. Do you have this clip from the Derek Carr podcast or no?
Because of time, I didn't want to play it because he goes in length, but I'll give you guys the real quick detail.
Break it down for us.
He was asked about his relationship with Taysom Hill, Derek Carr, the Saints quarterback, and he said, "It's incredible that Taysom Hill will not get a single ounce of Hall of Fame love when he's a Hall of Fame caliber football player because of all the attributes and talents he brings to this offense. He could pass, he could run, he can catch, he can block, he plays special teams." Which made me think, if Kevin Stefanski were to ever utilize a Browns player like the Saints utilized Taysom Hill, which player on the Browns roster would make the best Swiss Army knife for the Browns?
Did we have 3 different answers for this?
You did have 3 different
answers. I figured
answers.
we would, and I'm glad we did. First of all, I want to start by saying this. Derek Carr, you're out of your mind. Okay, you are completely out of your mind. It's one thing to say that a player is versatile and brings a lot to the party. That I'm fine with. But when you talk about he's not going to give an ounce of Hall of Fame love, because he doesn't deserve it. He's versatile, and if he had said he might be the most versatile player in the NFL, okay, you win. He is. He does a lot of things. But to mention him as one of the top players in the NFL, if you did a player draft right now and you had 1,000 fans do the draft, Taysom Hill wouldn't be drafted in the top 5 rounds. Okay, so let's pump the brakes on that. Secondly, my pick for who that would be, not because they've displayed that this guy is versatile, it's just me looking at the situation and saying, I think this guy is a Swiss Army knife. And that would be David Njoku. He's a guy that if you needed to put him on the defensive line and tell him to get after a quarterback, I think just because of his length, his size, his athleticism, this guy high jump 7 feet. His athleticism is there. He can catch. We know that. I wouldn't want to tackle him coming out of a backfield and goal line. Can he throw? I don't know. I wouldn't put it past him. I think this is our Swiss Army knife, and we don't use him that way. That's for sure. Who do you guys have?
Man, I'm gonna backtrack on this. If you go back into the archives and really dip into it, we had a conversation about versatility in players that you would use, and you guys said one Myles Garrett, and I said no, I'm not putting him out there because he get hurt. Well, after he jumped over 5 or 6 people blocking field goals, I was like, listen, maybe
he can do other things.
I mean, technically, I think in a straight line race, he's faster than Amari Cooper. I'm just be honest with you, Amari. I think he'll get you. And you want to talk about tackling. You gonna tackle him? He can play tight end. He can play linebacker. I know he can block somebody.
Sure.
Listen, and think about trying to catch this man in open field. What are you talking about? Myles Garrett, and I went through the whole thought process. I'm like, well, Taysom Hill don't get a chance to show it. Myles Garrett will never get to show it.
He won't.
But I am telling you, if they wanted to put him in the Myles Vrabel, I just said it's 2
You
things.
did. You just put them together.
He's Myles Vrabel. He is. Put him at tight end. Hey,
Vrabel's in the organization now.
Yep. I'm
telling you, I think he would right now be a top 5 tight end if that's all he did.
Myles
for
Vrabel.
sure. Who's going to tackle him?
Nobody.
He's going to go high point the football.
Yeah. Who's going to guard him?
Yeah, I know. That's a great answer. I can't argue with it. I went with JOK just because he just looks the versatile type. I think he's explosive. You could put the ball in his hands on a pitch. He could get you some yards offensively. He could play safety. I think you could move him around defensively more than what they do. I think he could play some offense. I have no idea if he could throw the ball or not. But you guys took the best answers, so I had what was left over. I was thinking Amari Cooper, but I saw him throw a pass, and it didn't end well. I wanted to say Elijah Moore, but we've already seen that, and it didn't work.
Sorry, Ty.
So I went with JOK.
I would like to see, for a moment, Denzel Ward as a wide receiver. I'd like to see that.
I think he's too small.
He is, but Tyreek Hill's pretty small too.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Cavs Summer League and Bronny James versus the Cavs. Was it as weird for the panel as it was for me to watch? We're coming right back. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It was funny listening to the ESPN crew before the Cavs-Lakers Summer League game from Thomas and Mack last night out on the campus of UNLV. It was all like, well, welcome to the Bronny James show. And not too long into the game, it was obvious, no, this isn't the Bronny James show. This is the show of another rookie who played college basketball in in the state of California, but it clearly wasn't Bronny James. Let's look at his numbers. He almost had a triple-double last night, came within just one assist of posting the triple-double. Now, yes, the Lakers won the war, but Jaylon Tyson, I think, won the battle. He did a little bit of everything. There was a stretch there where it was just like he was an assist machine. I think just in a couple of minutes, it seemed like he had 4 or 5 assists where all of a sudden you're watching this guy and you're saying, wait a minute, maybe he is the piece the Cavs needed. And I know it's Summer League, and we'll temper our comments appropriately, but Jason, did they find a diamond in the rough here?
Certainly you have to like what you've seen so far from him. And yes, Summer League, you have to take it with a grain of salt. This is not real NBA basketball. 98% of the guys on the floor are not going to have any sort of role in the league moving forward, and that's important. But skill is skill, and certainly he has shown some things that should be able to translate. I don't know right away what type of role he's going to have. You know, the Cavs roster still is not completely set. History would indicate Isaac Okoro probably won't be back. That's just me making an educated guess on that.
What happens to him?
He probably is part of a deal, signed somewhere else, maybe as a sign and trade, but now there's different rules involved with sign and trades than there were before.
Do you understand all these rules, by the way?
Yeah, it's a new world that we're living in.
I'm glad you do, because some of them I'm looking at, I'm like, I don't get these.
It's a different world that we're part of. But if Okoro's not on this team, it opens up a spot for Jaylon Tyson.
Right.
And I do think he does some things that can help this team. I don't know that he's going to hold a heavy role right away. Cavs are a deep and talented team. Like they may not be the number one team in the East, but they're a very good team in the East. So there's not a lot of spots. But when they certainly need help on the wing, that's a spot that they need more than anything. And if you get a guy out there with some size who can dribble, pass, and shoot, they're going to find a way to use you. So I do think that even if it's not game one, I do think there's going to be opportunities for Jaylon Tyson to help this team, particularly if the way he played last night and really the way he's played in the Summer League is any indication of what he's got going forward. They may have something here. And they've done a nice job. They've hit on their picks before. For the most part. They don't have any you could look at their draft history and say, okay, they should have taken that guy over that guy.
Sure.
But actual like busts, this group doesn't really have busts.
This group.
Yeah, this front office.
Right.
Man, I like his game, man. Listen, he was strong with the ball. He showed more playmaking ability than I thought he had. He could dribble. He knocked down open shots. Like the way he moves on the court, like you could tell, like you could tell he's played a lot of basketball. Like he just is in the right spots. And I like what they did. They let him have the ball a lot more in that last game against the Lakers. And he was initiating offense. He was running the offense. I like what he was able to do. And for me, listen, I told him, I said, you know, my goal for the Cavs is I think they need to play faster. I think they need to get smaller. I think Jared Allen need to go to the bench. I think Mobley should start. And for me, they should put up a lot of threes and they should work with their pace. He said something that I liked about him. He said, yo, I want to come in and concentrate on defense. If you can come in and concentrate on defense and knock down some open shots, you got Max Strus that I think is playing out of position at 3. I think he's better suited to come off the bench. I think this kid got an opportunity that, don't be surprised, he may get some games to start, and I wouldn't mind it.
Mikey, we have about 20 seconds. I can't move off of this topic without hearing your thoughts.
He is much more Levert than he is Okoro, which was one of the bad NBA comps when he came into the league. He looked much more comfortable with the ball in his hands, and he got an opportunity to do that last night with Craig Porter Jr. not playing. And he was 1 assist shy of a triple-double, and he had a couple plays late where he made the right pass, and
but
guys just didn't make
finish.
shots.
Right.
And it's disappointing, but last night was certainly a very impressive performance from the rookie. It's Summer League.
Yeah.
You take it all with a grain of salt, but that's what you want to see from a first-round pick. playing against competition that is nowhere near what he'll see on the NBA level. He should look better than the rest of the guys, and last night he certainly did.
Yeah, you can only do so much against these guys, but he did enough to at least warrant. Okay, let's see what he can do at the real level.
Yeah.
Let's move it to Bronny James. Just odd. That's all I could think of is, man, this just is weird to watch the son of LeBron James, who of course came into the league right here and won a championship here. Bronny's had a rough start to the summer league. He has bounced back a little in the last couple of games, particularly last night. What was it like for you guys, and what do you make of what he's done so far, Jay?
I mean, I watched him as a little kid running around the Cavs practice facility.
Really had to be weird for you, though.
Yeah, and then to see him as a teenager in the Cavs locker room talking to Dad, hanging out with Dad, and now to see him on the floor, I'm happy for him. I hold no ill will toward him at all. He's gonna get a lot of time in the G League. Like, LeBron got him where he wanted. He got him a guaranteed contract. Yes, he got him drafted. Yes, he's on the Lakers. Yes, they're gonna have games where they're playing together. But I think he's gonna spend the bulk of the season in the G League. Everybody knows he's not a finished product. He needs to work on his game. He probably needs 2 years to really sort of develop and polish.
So you think the canvas is there, it just needs time?
I've talked to scouts who said, listen, the kid can play. Like, I wouldn't take him in the first round, but, you know, put him as a point guard. USC played him as a 3, play him as a point guard, put him as natural position, and see what you have. Okay. You know, put some water and some nutrients in it and see what you've got. So he'll spend the bulk of his time in the G League, although he will have some time on the Lakers. And it's up to him at that point as to what his career becomes.
Yeah, shout out to him, man. Listen, hopefully he develops. He's like a lot of players. I think that in the NBA, it's all about where you end up. Like, there's a lot of guys who can play, but are you going to get an opportunity at a certain level to show what you can do in meaningful games? With the Lakers, it's going to be difficult. But I will say this. I like his game. I like Bronny's game when he's aggressive. Some games, it looks like he's just floating. He's just there. I like him being more aggressive. I look at the 10 attempts that he had right there. You know, he's a tremendous athlete. He's an athlete. He got that in his genes. I think if he's more aggressive and learns how to pick his spots where to get it to be aggressive, I think that works on the rest of his game. And then he plays defense better when he's more involved. So to me, I think he has the athletic ability. It's just about the getting the confidence, like a lot of players at that level, to see where they go with it.
I'm rooting for him, that's for sure. I don't know, Mikey, I want you to weigh in on this too. If his name is anything but Bronny James, I don't think he's drafted. No. I think he probably stays in college he needed at least another year. Mm-hmm. And probably at a different school, because I agree with you. Like, play him where he belongs, particularly if he's an NBA prospect. You want him to develop in that lane. Don't put him in a new lane and see if he can create one there. I would have loved to see him transfer to Ohio State. I really would have. See what he could do at another program, hopefully in the right position, a little more time in the oven. Mikey, is he an NBA player? Will he ever be an NBA player?
Yeah, he certainly can be. He wouldn't have been drafted if his name wasn't James this year, but he was a 5-star recruit, a McDonald's All-American. He goes back as a good sophomore or junior year. He certainly would be on draft boards without question. All
right, very good. All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, so of all the Guardians players, which one is most poised to have a breakout performance in the second half? Is it a pitcher? Is it a position guy? We discuss and debate when the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show comes right back. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We've talked Browns, we've talked Cavs. Only thing left on the table, the Guardians. They start the second half of the season tonight at home against the San Diego Padres. By the way, that's a game that's on Apple Plus. I think that's the only way you can watch it unless you go down there. They're 4.5 games up. They were 9 games up not that long ago. And they're going to need some guys to step up and really kind of step out of the shadows that they were living in the first half and become something greater in the second half. We picked guys that we are picking to do that. G, you can start. Who's your player?
Man, listen, we ran a graphic about a week ago, and we talked about Angel Martinez and how he's getting on base, being very selective at the plate, getting innings started, and then he just started hitting the ball too. He's not just a guy that's on base because he's walking. He's getting on base because he's coming up with clutch hits and doing some great things. You look at his OPS there. I think he's warranted more playing time. I think he'll get it. And he's one of the new guys that they keep bringing up with Noel and Schneemann and some of these other guys. But I've liked what I've seen out of him, especially if you can get somebody to kind of fill in the two-hole here or there and just be an athlete in the outfield. So I like Angel Martinez. I want to see more of him.
All right, I hope you're right. I like this kid a lot. I'm going with a guy that I don't even – when I gave the name to Mike, I said, does he qualify? But I'm going with Bo Naylor. I don't think Bo Naylor has become what we thought he was going to be. For much of this season, he was hitting around 180.
Yeah.
And it led me to ridiculously say maybe it's time to get something for him while there's still value there. Maybe they should trade him. And David Fry looked like he could handle the everyday catching. I couldn't have been more wrong because since I made those comments, David Fry is hitting about 200 and Bo Naylor is hitting about 300. So I think that Bo has turned a corner. Every young player goes through it. And I think the light has gone off for him. And if he can continue to stroke the baseball the way he has in the month of June, I think they can, put his name in pen in this lineup for years to come because he's got all the attributes and he was supposed to be this guy.
Yeah.
And I think he's ready to become that guy.
Well, the guys you picked, I hope they work out. They're not bad choices, but the Guardians can get by even if they don't.
Right.
For me, it's Gavin Williams because it has to be Gavin Williams because the rotation desperately needs somebody other than Tanner Bybee and maybe Ben Lively to help them out. Williams was the biggest prospect. It was really Daniel Espino was the number one prospect. He's been out with injuries. And then it was Gavin Williams, and then it was Tanner Bybee. So the pedigree is there. Williams is massive. He's got a massive frame. He throws hard. He's everything that this rotation needs, really for now and into the postseason. There's so much riding, I believe, on this team's postseason chances on his right arm. He's finally healthy. You're starting
Is
to
he?
see.
What are you hearing about the elbow? Like those concerns are behind us.
I think so. Just based on what we've seen performance-wise, I think that they're past any sort of trepidation with him. This was supposed to be a very minor thing, and it ended up costing him basically the entire first half of the season. But if he can come out and throw and pitch the way that we expect him to, that is a massive, massive void that's being filled. I feel comfortable. I know they're second-year guys, and it's not fair to put this much pressure on them. But if you have Tanner Bybee and Gavin Williams at the top of the rotation, I feel pretty good about that going into a playoff series. It has to be him. They already need more help in the rotation. We got about 10 days before the trade deadline. They already need more help. That's if Gavin Williams works out. If he doesn't work out, it's a 5-alarm fire. So it has to be Gavin Williams.
Yeah, so you're saying basically not who you think is positioned, but who
it has to be.
It has to be. And I agree with you. The importance of him doing that is far greater than it is Bo Naylor or Martinez. The one thing I'll say about where the Guardians are as they get ready to start the second half of the season, it's going to sound like hyperbole. It probably is. I'm that guy. The next 10 games are the most important 10 games for the Guardians this season. And here's why. They're eroding like beach sand. They had a 9-game lead a couple of weeks ago. It's been cut in half. Mm-hmm. The Twins are arcing up. The Guardians are arcing down. They've got to stop that bleeding. They had the All-Star break when they most needed it. Now what are they coming out of it? Are they rejuvenated? Are they ready? Are they the team that we've seen the first 90-plus games of the season? Mm-hmm. Or are they the team that we kind of thought they were going to be, around 500, maybe a little above? They can still make the playoffs if they play 500 baseball from here. But it won't be as a division winner. It'll be as a wild card team. And we learned in the past, it's a lot easier to do this when you win your division. Most important thing on the radar for this team right now is the front office. That is the most important position. Because I've said this before, I'm going to repeat it. Last year at this time, the Rangers had a really good team. I don't know what their record was. It was probably not what the Guardians' record is right now. No one was saying, oh, they're the pick to win the World Series. They went out before the deadline and they made some nice moves. Moves that made a good team a really good team. And then when the playoffs hit, they played out of their minds, particularly on the road, and they won the World Series. We can be the Texas Rangers of 2024. We're every bit as good as that team was last year. The pitching scares me still.
Yeah.
But because of that, you've got to go out and you've got to bolster this rotation with one arm and maybe two, because I'm not convinced one is going to get it done. It'll be imperative that you have one for the playoffs. But to get there, I think you're going to need two. All eyes are on the front office. Go make those moves and go Guardians. I'll be out at the game tonight. Again, if you want to watch it, you have to do it on Apple TV because that's the only place you can see it locally. We are out of time. Thanks for spending time with us. The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Monday through Friday. We stream at 11. You can watch us whenever you want. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.